Hello, welcome to Read Aloud number 7, I believe. Chapter 6. It's called The Box in the Closet. Strange how people do failures usually arouse lively discussion with clumps of people collecting on corners and saying to each other, "Where were you when it happened? And what's the matter with the electricians? We should kick them out and get new ones." And that sort of thing. This time it was just the opposite. When Lina went to work the next morning, the street was oddly silent. People walked quickly, their eyes on the ground. Those who did stop to talk spoke in low voices, then hurried on their way. That day, Lina carried the same message 12 times. All the messengers were carrying it. It was simply this, being passed from one person to another. 7 minutes. The power failure had been more than twice as long as any that was before. Fear had settled over the city. Lina felt it like a cold chill. She understood how Dune had been speaking the truth on assignment day. Ember was in grave danger. The next day, a notice appeared on all the city kiosks. Town meeting. All citizens are requested to assemble in Harkin Square at 6 p.m. tomorrow to receive important information from Lamander Cole, a.k.a. the mayor. What kind of important information, Lina wondered. Good news or bad? She was impatient to hear it. The next day, people streamed into Harkin Square from all four directions, crowded together so close that each person hardly had room to move. Children sat on shoulders of fathers. Short people tried to push forward to the front. Lina spotted Lizzie and called a greeting to her. She saw Vindy Chance too, who brought her little brother. Lina decided to leave Poppy at home with Granny. There was too much danger at losing her in a crowd like this. The town clock began to strike. 6 vibrating bongs rang out, and the murmur of anticipation swept through the crowd. People stood on tiptoe, craning to see. The door of the gathering hall opened, and the mayor came out, flanked by 2 guards. One of the guards handed the mayor a megaphone. The mayor began to speak. His voice came through the megaphone, both blurry and crackly. "People of Ember," he said. He waited. The crowd fell silent, straining to hear. "People of Ember," the mayor said again. He looked from side to side. The light glinted off his bald head. "Our city has experienced some slight difficulty. Times like this require great passion for us all." "What did he say?" people whispered urgently. "What did he say? I couldn't hear him. What did he say?" "Slight difficulties," someone said, "requires great patience from all of us." "But I stand here today," the mayor went on, "to reassure you, difficult times will pass. We are magan evan evovov." "What?" came the sharp whispers. "What did he say?" Those near the front passed it back. "Making every effort," they said. "Every effort." "Louder," someone shouted. The mayor's voice blared through the megaphone, louder, but even less clear. "Worse Pashaline," he said. "Pank mushin pank, no Russian pank." We can't hear you, someone else yelled. Lina felt a stirring around her, a muttering. Someone pushed against her back, forcing her forward. "He said we mustn't panic," someone said. "He said panic is the worst possible thing. No reason to panic," he said. On the steps of the gathering hall, the 2 guards moved a little closer to the mayor. He raised his megaphone, spoke again. "Solution," he bellowed. "Abgren foon." "Solutions," the people in front called back. "Solutions are being found," he said. "What solutions?" called a woman standing near Lina. People elsewhere in the crowd echoed, and the woman had said, "What solutions? Yeah, what solutions?" The cry became a chorus, louder. "What solutions? What solutions?" Again, Lina felt the pressure from behind as people moved forward toward the gathering hall. Jostling arms poked her, bulky bodies bumped her and crushed her. Her heart began to pound. "I have to get out of here," she thought. She started ducking beneath the arms and darting into wherever space she could find, making her way toward the rear of the crowd. Noise was rising everywhere. The mayor's voice kept coming in blasts of incomprehensible sound, and the people in the crowd were either shouting angrily or yelping in fear of being squashed. Someone stepped on Lina's foot, and her scarf was half yanked off. For a few seconds, she was afraid she was going to be trampled, but at last she struggled free and ran up the steps of the school. From there, she saw the 2 guards were hustling the mayor back through the door of the gathering hall. The crowd roared, and people started hurling whatever they could find, pebbles and garbage, crumpled paper, even their own hats. At the other side of the square, Dune and his father battled their way down Gilly Street. "Move fast," his father said. "We don't want to be caught up in this crowd." They crossed Broad Street and took a long way home, through the narrow lanes behind the school. "Father," said Dune as he hurried along, "the mayor's a fool, don't you think?" For a moment his father didn't answer. Then he said, "He's in a tough spot, son. What would you have to do?" "What would you have him do?" "Not lie, at least," Dune said. "If he really has solutions, he should have told us. He shouldn't pretend he has solutions when he doesn't." Dune's father smiled. "That would be a good start," he agreed. "It makes me so angry the way he talks to us," said Dune. Dune's father put a hand on Dune's back and steered him toward the corner. "A great many things make you angry lately," he said. For good reason, said Dune. Maybe the trouble with anger is it gets a hold of you, and then you aren't the master of yourself anymore. Anger is. Dune walked on silently. Inwardly, he groaned. He knew what his father was going to say, and he didn't feel like hearing it. And when anger is the boss, you get, I know, said Dune. Unintended consequences. That's right. Like hitting your father in the ear with a shoe heel. I didn't mean to. That's exactly my point. He walked down Pibb Street. Dune shoved his hands into his pockets and his jackets and scowled at the sidewalk. Father doesn't even have a temper, he thought. He's as mild as a glass of water. He can't possibly understand. Lina was running. She'd already dismissed the mayor's speech from her mind. She sped by people from Otterville Street going back to open their stores and overheard snatches of conversations as she passed. Expects us to believe, said one voice. He's just trying to keep us quiet, said another. Heading for disaster, said a third. All the voices shook with anger and fear. Lina didn't want to think about it. Her feet slapped the stones off the street. Her hair flew out behind her. She would go home. She would make hot potato soup for the three of them, and then she would take out her new pencils and draw. She climbed the stairs next to the yarn shop, 2 at a time, and burst through the door of the apartment. Something was on the floor just in front of her feet, and she tripped and fell down hard on her hands and knees. She stared. By the open closet door was a great pile of clothes and boots and bags and boxes. Their contents all spilled out and tangled up. A thumping, rattling came from inside the closet. Granny? More thumps. Granny's head poked around the edge of the closet door. I should have looked in here a long time ago, she said. This is where it would be. Of course, you should see what's in here. Lina gazed around at the incredible mess. Into the closet had been packed of junk of decades, jammed into cardboard boxes, stuffed into old pillowcases, laundry bags, and heaped in a pile so dense that you couldn't pull one thing without pulling all the rest with it. The shelf below the coat rack was just crammed as the space below, mostly with old clothes that were full of moth holes and eaten away by mildew. When she was younger, Lina had tried exploring in the closet, but she never got far. She'd pull out an old scarf and would fall to pieces in her hands, or open a box that proved to be full of bent carpet tacks. So she would shove everything back in and give up. But Granny was really doing the job right. She grunted and panted as she wrenched free the closet packed in stuff, tossed it behind her. It was clear that she was having fun as Lina watched a bag of rags came tumbling out of the door, and then an old brown shoe with no laces. Granny, said Lina, suddenly uneasy. Where's the baby? Oh, she's here, said Granny's voice from depths of the closet. She's been helping me. Lina got up from the floor and looked around. She soon spotted Poppy. She was sitting behind the couch in the midst of clutter. In front of her was a small box made of something dark and shiny. It had a hinged lid, and the lid was open, hanging backward. Poppy, Lina said. Let me see that. She stooped down, and there was some sort of a mechanism on the edge of the lid. Kind of like a lock, Lina thought. The box was beautifully made. It had been damaged. There were dents and scratches in its hard, smooth surface. It looked as if it had been a container for something valuable. But the box was empty now. Lina picked it up and felt around to be sure. There was nothing inside at all. Was there something in this box, Poppy? Did you find something in here? But Poppy only chortled happily. She was chewing on some crumpled paper. She had paper in her hands, too, and was tearing it. Shreds of paper were strewn around her. Lina picked one up. It was covered with small, perfect printing.